Hello everyone and welcome to the 189th episode of the Poorly Planned Podcast. My name is Benedict, you may know me better as BHL Hudson. Here we talk about movies, TV shows, a bunch of nonsense. With me as always is my friend, co-host, and dare I say, a pod 1 week apart, buddy? Frederick?
Ooh, you best believe.
Could it be? Are we on a possible schedule here? I mean, it is. It depends on how fast I edit this, which I cannot take too much responsibility for because it could take like several weeks.
This pod comes out in October.
But if all goes well, this will be, I think, the second pod in a week time span, like we used to do, if you recall those dark days. So
to those hardcore fans, I'm gonna quickly put my phone on Do Not Disturb once
please,
more.
Sir,
there we
please,
go.
Sir. Yeah, to the hardcore fans who were around back in, I want to say April of this year when we did this.
I want to say about 2 months ago.
But yeah, we're back in business, kind of, not really. After this, we're all going on vacations and stuff, so it's going to be a little choppy again. But we had to come back to talk about some mini reviews, one piece of news, and we're going to be doing what is now becoming a recurring segment on the pod where BHL Hudson rants about a movie that Frederick has not seen, and Frederick cowers and cries.
And I nod in a wise way,
right.
And
you approve.
Still don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you approve / zone out and look at your phone while I the ramblings of a madman.
I play Candy Crush and mute you.
Yeah, you just intermittently go and I just assume you're agreeing with all my takes.
Gotcha.
But we are going to be talking Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny.
Ooh, I've seen it.
No, you haven't. Fuck off. Get out of here. Not. There wasn't a second where I believed you. There wasn't a millisecond.
Genuine, just no, you haven't.
Shut the fuck up. Genuine, you can't watch
Like loser bitch boy.
a trailer for the FNAF movie if you have to, let alone see Indiana Jones 5 on opening night on a Thursday. Get out of here. What do you take me for?
God, you're making yourself sound lamer with this.
Yeah. You didn't go out to the 3 p.m. Thursday showing of Indiana Jones?
You didn't wake up at 4 a.m. and stand in line for 6 hours to go see the FNAF movie? You're not a podcaster.
God, I would like to be clear, I have no intention of doing anything for the FNAF movie.
I'd like you to make it clear that it was only a 2-hour line I was standing in.
I'd like to be clear, it's the FNAF epic, not movie. Movie brings it down a little bit.
It's the FNAF experience, if you will.
But yeah, so there are time codes down below. That should be fun. You can skip around as you please. But couple things up top here that I want to say at the start of the pod before we get into things. Couple little announcements. First of all, I mentioned this at the end of the last one, but I assume no one listens that far. So I have deleted my TikTok and Twitter accounts. Just want to put that out there. So if you're wondering where the amazing BHL Hudson TikToks are, first of all of them are available as YouTube Shorts anyway on my channels. But also, I wasn't posting there anyway, and TikTok is kind of terrible. So,
You say that every time we talk about TikTok.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get back on it in like a month. But I deleted the account. And the Twitter account, which I've had since 2016. So it was a little bit of like, am I going to delete this? But also, I never post anymore. Twitter's also kind of terrible. Just like, I don't know. I'm trying to get off
not the most positive space.
No, I'm trying to get a bit off the social media thing. And since I never post, I thought I'd get rid of it. I know some people reach out to us via Twitter, so I just wanted to let them know that is no longer a possibility.
I'm still there, you guys.
FTK _adult sniper.
You say that as if I don't use my Twitter every hour of every day.
You're not constantly updating on your latest happenings.
I'm not tweeting my recipes.
But you can still reach out via the email, bhlhudsonvids@gmail.com, or the comments here on YouTube. So, that's all good. And speaking of comments, by the way, you can leave comments on individual Spotify episodes I found, and then Spotify gives me like some option to like review and publish them. I don't know why they
accept them as comments.
It's really weird. I don't know why. Like they send me a thing there. It's like, you have a new comment. I was like, what the fuck? Just let people comment. I don't like. Why do I have to press a button to say like it's okay?
Let the people see them.
Yeah, but then again, if you don't see your comment pop up, it means I hated it and you're terrible. No, it doesn't. It just means I missed it. But you can leave a comment on Spotify episodes, so feel free to do that. And lastly, just quick little anecdote, BHL anecdote hour.
Okay.
And a rare positive anecdote. There's no twist on this where I
God.
cuss someone out.
It's been a while.
Right? It's been possibly never on this podcast. But I just thought it was cool. I went down to Washington, D.C., where they have the National Museum of American History, which I loved as a child. I went back last year a little bit. Still a delightful place. Very interesting stuff. But they have a new exhibit about movies and kind of American entertainment in general.
Very nice.
So
Okay.
it was just a good time, cool exhibit. I saw Captain America's shield that was actually used in the film.
I stole it, and I'm now wanted.
Yeah, don't tell DC police of my location. I saw Rocky's robe from the original Rocky film. It said the Italian Stallions.
Sniffed that shit.
Bottled the scent. Will never wash my nose again.
Ran away in the robe with the shield. Feeling particularly cheeky today.
Had a bit of mischief going on. They had the original Sesame Street Muppets. They had the original Kermit the Frog.
Ooh.
I was wondering why you weren't there, given that you are the biggest Muppet.
Oh, fuck.
Yes. And there was some other stuff I can't really remember now, but yeah, was a cool experience. So yeah, shout out the National Museum of American History, I suppose.
This underground place that no one's ever heard of.
It's a very elite club.
It's gonna be big one day.
Yeah, they've got potentially. Now they have the original Kermit thing, so you know what can I just say though?
Honestly, they've got the Italian Stallion robe. It's.
I will say, and this is of course taking a mean negative turn, so I guess I lied at the start. But the one gripe I have with this exhibit, they had the original Kermit.
It was too perfect.
Yeah, they had the original Kermit puppet, and they had this woman employee standing by it waiting to explain it to you and talk to you about it, and and the problem is, and I feel bad for her because clearly it wasn't her idea, someone just assigned her to that. No one was going near the Kermit puppet because no one wanted to be drawn to this thing where then you have to sort of oh, tell me more, and then you're gonna draw into this thing. So everyone was just awkwardly observing the Kermit puppet from a safe distance as this woman just stood there kind of sad, and it was just why would you do that? Come on.
Damn.
No other exhibit had that, you know what I mean?
Were you one of the distant observers as well?
Absolutely. Fuck, I wasn't going to go up there and engage in human interaction to see the Kermit puppet. Are you kidding?
It's terrifying.
Besides that, though, a 10 out of 10 exhibit. So big win on that one.
Nice.
If you have no Kermit-related happenings...
I mean, only past fantasies, but I don't think anything current of my Kermit news.
Nothing that needs to be broadcast on YouTube.
No, exactly. Not yet, anyways. Not before I film everything.
That's Pod 200. You doing unspeakable things to the original Kermit the Frog Muppet.
Freddy visits the Smithsonian.
Anyway, I thought we would do 3 mini reviews each, and then dive into some Indiana Jones. And very briefly, we can talk about the Superman casting, although I don't think we'll have much to say because we don't really know either of these actors. But anyway, would you like to start with a mini review?
Ooh, I will, and one I think we can talk about a little bit as you posted a hate comment.
Oh yes, this was a stinky Fidalgard moment.
I would argue that it is a pure and very, very reasonable thing to not enjoy. Anyways, and I'd say anyone who does enjoy it, kind of creepy and weird. Midsommar, or however you want to pronounce it.
Right.
You know.
You hit that strong 2.5.
Hit that strong mid. It's I don't know. Okay, I will preface it by saying I maybe wasn't in the right state as I watched it quite late at night in my bed, and I was very tired. I don't know if you need to be very awake for this movie. But yeah, I don't know. If very long. And can I just say, it was super creepy and super just unsettling and everything. I guess it did what it tried to do to me. But I don't know. I still just didn't really enjoy it, and the ending, I don't know. And this, I think, again, is kind of my own fault because I don't know if you've seen on TikTok or Instagram those kind of 100 movies in 100 days, and then rank them, and give personal scores and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And some of them said oh, the action is a 10 out of 10 and stuff like that. And I came into it like thinking, there's going to be some, not like, designated action scenes, but there's going to be like, a bit more thrill and action in that way, if you will. Whereas it kind of turned out to just be kind of the terrible boyfriend just kind of, doing a weird sex ritual and then running around with his dick out. And there was also too much dick for me in this movie. I don't know.
That's a great review for the DVD cover. Too much dick, question mark? 5 stars?
Exclamation mark.
Also, I think we should say spoilers for Midsommar. Just put
it. There is a lot of dick, just so you guys know.
That's the main spoiler. It's the whole plot.
But anyways, back on track. Yeah, I don't know. And then the end was, it makes sense. Like, I love a good horror movie where, in the end, the main character just kind of, there's comeuppance to the villains, and the main character kind of escapes or, survives. I know she does survive, and, like, the boyfriend's been terrible, and she just kind of, like, smiles at the end. But I don't know, the whole thing just, I didn't love it. It just kind of made me feel uneasy in a way that I did not sit there and enjoy the movie.
Okay, that's a totally valid opinion. It's a little bit...
I can see why people enjoy the movie, but for me, the enjoyment was not there. Not because it was a bad movie, just because I thought was kind of bleh, if you get what I mean.
Some movies with their tone and their style just aren't
meant for everyone.
I was talking about The Pursuit of Happiness last week, which is probably a pretty good movie, but it's like, just because of its stressful vibe, I didn't enjoy it. And like this, even though that's what it's going for, this is going to make you uneasy, and it's just like not something that you really, enjoyed. And I guess it also doesn't follow horror conventions as much as like,
exactly,
in a way that I guess would be like, I think I mentioned as well when I talked about it, and this is something that I liked, but I can see why you wouldn't. There actually isn't. There are like very few moments of like real horror, like really scary shit, and it's mostly just like tension throughout.
Yeah.
And I can see also,
and I think the tension is done well, but I think tension, again, for me, and I think me being quite tired and laying in bed and just kind of not paying full attention to what was going on, I guess, did kind of, make it not as good of an experience. But like, I feel like the tension was just so drawn out to the point where it's like, I was just waiting for everything to know, like kind of, something's going to happen now. And it didn't. And then sometimes that works. And for me, in that one, it didn't really.
Fair enough. I can't really debate you on that. That's a fair assessment. And to be fair, I do know people who also think it's quite mid. So that's fair. I will say maybe there's something in how you watch this movie, because I watched it, just in a normal sense, and I do know some people, not that I know anyone who uses any substances of any kind, but if I did, there are some people who watched it while on certain substances and they really did not enjoy it, which, by the way, having now seen it, do you not think watching Midsommar on possibly some kind of hallucinogen would be like the worst experience ever? Does that not sound like an absolute nightmare? Because part of the movie's plot is she does like hallucinogens and then everything gets fucked up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's basically just you're double dosing here.
Yeah. It looks completely normal. There's nothing weird going on.
Why is she getting freaked out right now? Should I be freaking out? What's happening?
And then the walls eat you? I don't know. I've never done hallucinogens. In case you couldn't tell. Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of these, because I've been watching hella movies, as they say, but if I can only pick 3, I think I'll start with, God, you know what? I'll start with the most depressing. I did watch Schindler's List for the first time, which is not a very pod movie. This pod is very jokey. Yeah. And I will say there is not a lot, surprise, there's not a lot to joke about with Schindler's List.
I did not expect that.
Yeah. But genuinely, one of the best movies I've ever seen. I mean, just like fucking...
A great Neeson, would you say?
A great Neeson. He is in it, he's the main character, but it does feel...
He's in it a lot.
But he's actually not in it like as much as you'd maybe think. It does feel a bit like Steven Spielberg wanted to make sort of like a Holocaust movie, and then, especially because he's, Steven Spielberg, his movies always have a little bit of like some kind of light in them. He wanted to find like the most, like uplifting possible thing you can do there, and that's the Schindler story. But a lot of it is just like, horrible Holocaust stuff. And then there's like the through line of this Schindler story that's like a little bit, has a bit of hope in it. But I mean, yeah, again, big shocker here, but I mean, just like an absolutely devastating movie. It's like extremely upsetting at times. I cried a few times throughout. And it's one of those also where, when you cry in movies, like, it's kind of like there's a big moment that, like, kind of makes you, like, and you start crying, like, the kind of like, the music swells and all this shit. Yeah. Like, in this one, there were just a few moments where I just, like, kind of, like, noticed. I was like, I'm kind of tearing up right now, like, because it's just, I don't know, it's very, obviously, it's very fucking upsetting.
Doesn't make you feel great.
Does not at all. But just, like, but it also wasn't, like, I don't know, all-consumingly sad. Like, it has... It's not like a miserable...
It has moments.
It has like some kind of hope and light to it that makes it something that's not just like where I'm not like...
It's not a pursuit of happiness kind of thing.
Yeah, it's less depressing than the pursuit of happiness though. But like where it's not like I finished it, I'm like, I never want to think about that movie ever again. That was so horrible. It's like, it is obviously horrible, but then it has like, yeah, a little bit of, I don't know, that Spielberg hope to it at times. But yeah, Fiennes is in it as one of the, most horrific villains of all time. There's a delightful Kingsley. He's in it.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, just and just like how it's shot, how it's made. It's just, obviously the subject matter is handled very, very well. And it's just like an incredibly well-made film, and all the performances are great. So yeah, just like one of the best films I've ever seen. Incredibly emotional. And yeah, I will say the only like pod funny thing I can say about this movie, and I'm really curious if anyone else can back me up on this. There are a couple of shots, and I can't explain why really, but where, because of like the lighting or the angle, I guess, Liam Neeson looks inexplicably like John Cena. That is the only thing I can say. So I was like, a couple of moments where I was like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. I thought I wasn't supposed to be able to see him.
Is this a stunt double?
God, imagine Schindler, Liam Neeson needing a Schindler's List stunt double.
And he gets John Cena. But yeah, they're also very unfortunate, but the ending of the film wasn't ruined. It was still, very impactful, but it was slightly ruined by New Girl, because at the end of the film, it cuts to the present day, and everyone who's playing people who Schindler saved, and then the real people who he saved, it's a sequence of them putting rocks on his grave, which is like a Jewish sign of respect. And it's slightly ruined because in New Girl, there is a moment where Schmidt thinks he has stopped Cece from getting a breast reduction surgery, and he talks to her boobs and says, I am your Schindler. One day your children will put rocks on my grave. And so that is what I was thinking of when that happened, so that's unfortunate. But yeah. And I will say...
That's very good.
Only complaint, the last scene of the movie, before that happens, little bit... Like, the whole movie... Of course, it's a Spielberg movie, so there's a little bit of over-the-topness, but, like, it has sort of a realism. It feels quite grounded, and it feels like a little bit reserved, I guess. I don't know. But at the end of the film, then they kind of have a big... Like, Liam Neeson's last scene, he kind of does a big, like... It feels a little bit movie-ish, like he sort of, it feels like, it's like, okay, this is the scene they'll show when he is nominated for Best Actor, where he kind of has like a big breakdown, and that took me out of it a little bit. But besides that, I gave it 5 stars. Amazing movie.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. I'm trying to think here, and because I don't want to go against our newly set pod rules, I don't actually know if I have any other mini reviews, if I have to adhere to this.
Well, if you don't, how about this? I do one more mini review that you have also seen. We can do a quick discussion.
Ooh.
And then we move on.
Well maneuvered, sir.
Thank you. That's why they pay me the big bucks. They don't pay me anything. I'm in horrible debt.
I'm in terrible debt, you guys. Here's the link. I may have stopped using Twitter, but here's the link to my new Patreon.
For all the videos I don't make. I did watch a little while ago with the Papa Hudson, a film that he is a very big fan of. And when I said I hadn't seen it, he hit me with the classic, you haven't seen, insert movie. And it was in fact Sicario, which I know you are a big fan of as well.
Ooh, I have seen Sicario. I do enjoy.
It's
So, what do you think?
It was very good, yeah. I don't know. It's not like one that I think about very often. Like I watched it and I was like, that was very well made. And it was, it was
well made. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some cool moments. There's some dark moments. But yeah, now that I've mentioned it, I really don't have a lot to say about it. It's good. It's a good, tense, action thriller.
Some good action.
And
it's pretty cool.
Miles ahead of like an average action thriller of like a Jason Statham is like Wrath of Man or whatever the fuck. I mean, it's like really well made.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was solid. It was good.
Nice. Sequel also quite good. I recommend.
I have not seen it, but the Papa Hudson also a big fan of that one, so I might have to.
He might hit you with another one. You haven't seen Sicario 2?
Soldado? Get the fuck out of my house.
I thought you were saying that to Papa Hudson.
I call him Soldado. We move
Papa
on to
Hudson
the news.
becomes the Soldaddy. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that.
No, I got you.
First of all, there was a new FNAF trailer, but I feel like we don't have to talk about that. I'm also guessing you didn't watch it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
There was a Dune 2 Toon trailer, but that's also, looks the same as all the other ones. But
I did watch that one, though. Just wanted to be on the record. I did. It's true. Why don't you believe me?
But we're gonna move to
Dune.
the kind of biggish news of the week. Actually, let me just check if there's any other news that's come out since then. But we did get some casting for Superman Legacy, James Gunn's Superman movie, and they are two actors who I'm not familiar with. But we have as Superman. Let's see, David Corenswet, which is, I don't know, a little, not the, like, rolls off the tongue kind of name.
Yeah, it's also like, who's playing who's playing Superman? Is it Cavill? Is it, who is it? No, it's my boy Cornsweat. That's
I think say it's
not the coolest name.
But yeah.
Corenswet. Okay.
Makes it much better. Lois Lane will be Rachel Brosnahan. No relation to Pierce Brosnan, as those are literally different names.
I was literally thinking Pierce
I could tell. I knew I had to get out in front of it.
Yeah.
Corenswet is from the movie Pearl, which I actually quite want to watch. I'm not a big horror guy, as I've established, but the X and Pearl movies have kind of interested me.
Okay.
Brosnahan is from the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel TV show, which is supposed to be really good. I have not seen it.
I've heard good things, yeah.
So they're probably good actors, and they look like Superman and Lois. I mean, David Corenswet is mega chiseled, and I believe he is 6'2", so he's got that
perfect Superman.
That Brett Dalton face chisel, we love to see it.
Why not have Brett Dalton as Superman is my question.
God damn. That's a fantastic point. He also looks a little bit like a more, I don't want to say buff, but like a bigger, like Cillian Murphy. You know how Cillian Murphy is like a little bit skinny and kind of, he has kind of like a Cillian Murphy type face, but a little filled out. Actually, he's 6'4". Damn. That's what they looked at when they were casting him. They're like, oh, he's 6'2", maybe. Holy shit, 6'4". Cornsweat, get in here.
You got Cornsweat. You're Superman, okay?
And yeah, Rachel Brosnahan, I think, plays the titular Mrs. Maisel in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and that's supposed to be really good. So, and she looks like a Lois Lane type of person from this this picture. So yeah,
well, that's what you want when you cast Lois Lane.
I suppose.
Someone who looks a bit like Lois.
That would be a good start.
In relation to this, do you see that James Gunn is desperately trying to get Jensen Ackles as Boot Moon? And by Boot Moon, I mean Batman.
Oh, I legitimately was like, I was about to go into a deep thing, like, Boot Moon, is that a fabled comic character? I did not see this, no. Is that confirmed? Is that a rumor?
It's not confirmed. I think it's like, he's desperately like trying to do it, and there's like, I didn't really read up on it that much. I just saw a video where it's like, the DC will literally explode if they get Mr. Ackles on board. I was like...
literally explodes a bit. I like Jensen Ackles. I don't know if would literally blow up the world if he was cast as Batman.
I was skeptical like you were, and then I researched just a little bit, and I have to agree, would be great, and it might result in a few explosions. But I can definitely see him as a very good Batman, especially after like his appearance in The Boys. I can see it.
He can rock a costume, and he's likable. He's handsome. There's a lot of checks here.
Very handsome.
He's possibly 6'2", which is acceptable for a Batman. You want Batman to be a little shorter than Superman. That's acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. He can be almost as buff, but he definitely needs to be a bit shorter.
That's a good point. Yeah. But they both have to be taller than Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Black Adam.
Well, that's not hard. Man was literally 3'2".
Especially in the de-mussified sequence, which is still baffling that they did.
Imagine being so buff, you literally have to CGI out all your gains.
It likely costs thousands of dollars to get your gains off the screen. That's kind of a huge flex, I'm not gonna lie.
That is the biggest flex possible. Oh yeah, the production value of the movie I was in went up so much because they literally had to make me smaller.
Yeah, Black Adam actually bombed at the box office because the budget was so high because I was too swole.
Imagine saying that in like a Jimmy Kimmel interview. It's like, I know your movie didn't do great. How are you feeling? Well, either way, it's a win-win for me because I'm either swole or rich, my guy.
Well, speaking of CGI men, great transition here. Why don't we jump into the newest blockbuster film, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which I did see at 3 p.m. on a Thursday. Let's go.
God.
As it was intended.
Quite literally him.
The thing is, it's funny because I go to these things and I'm like, I kind of miss when the cinema was like more full, but then I'm like, also, we planned to go when it wouldn't be full. So it was like, you know what I mean? So I can only really kind of made my own bet on that one. Anyway, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. You don't really care about Indiana Jones too much. I'm a massive fan.
Not the biggest fan. Yeah, I mean, I've seen... I don't think I've seen the latest one. I've seen the first two, I know for sure. I find them okay. A little bit overrated, I must say, but I can get behind the hype.
Sure. They were a big part of my childhood movie watching experience. I do have a picture somewhere of me dressed up as Indiana Jones for Halloween. It's a whole thing. And I was, I think we said about the trailer, it looks fun-ish, but it's probably going to be pretty mid. It looked like the kind of standard, it's this new genre of like Jurassic World Dominion and fucking, new Ghostbusters where it's like, it's completely serviceable and fine and there's an old actor there and, whatever. And I have to say, I don't know if you saw my Letterboxd review.
I didn't.
Oh.
Please enlighten me.
I hit it with, I'll say I'm a pretty generous Letterboxd man. A rare BHL 1 star.
I was fully expecting this to be like, I'm generous, but not this generous. 5 stars, but nay, it was
I'd like to preface this by saying I'm going to say a lot of things here, all right? And I'd like to
and it's all personal, directed at Harrison's age.
It should all be taken extremely personally. No, this is all in good fun, and I have nothing against whoever made this movie, whoever's in this movie. I also have nothing against old people, because there's going to be a little bit of that here.
Anyone who says this definitely has something against all of the things they just said they don't have anything against.
In the heat of the pod conversation, it's probably going to get a little heated, and I just want to stress, nothing against anyone. And again, I feel like we have a lot of jokes about old people on the show, because they bring back a lot of old actors playing action stars, and it's kind of funny and easy to make jokes about.
It's kind of hilarious.
And I'd like to say I have nothing against old people at all. They're great. However, there might be a little bit of that coming up here. Anyway, I absolutely fucking hated this movie so much.
Damn. You don't often say that.
I do not. And the thing is, in a vacuum, like, away from the if you just look at this film away from the franchise, away from anything, it's like a totally whatever kind of bad action movie. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's probably not even as bad as like a Fast X, but it's a little bit in that realm. It's just like a bad, poorly made, not very interesting, completely generic, action movie.
And Uncharted, if you will.
An Uncharted, for sure. Like, genuinely, it's exactly like Uncharted. But the problem is, it's a franchise and a character that I really, really love, and I'm trying so hard not to be like the cringy Star Wars fans or the cringy whatever, franchise fans who are like, it's nothing like the movies I love.
I totally get you. This is Pirates 5 all over again. It's
taken... I hated...
He's so old.
only problem, it's a great movie. Just like, it was just so fucking old.
God, I couldn't count the number of wrinkles if I had a fucking calculator.
But like, because I love those original films, it's just a perfect example of what we complain about with these movies nowadays, where it's like, and I sound so fucking old myself saying that, but like, it's taken everything that's great about those movies, and like, it's taken the most surface level version of it, and they've just noted down on like a clipboard, like, okay, what do we need in an Indiana Jones movie? He has the hat, he has a snarky sidekick, a bumbling sidekick. Yes, the age. There's an action scene on a boat, there's an action scene where they're whatever, and then they've just like put it in there with like nothing beneath it. It's just all the most surface level hollow bullshit, where in the original movie, like, there's so much character and like thought put into things, and everyone feels like a real person. It's fun, it's exciting, like there's so much realness because it was built from the ground up, and this was clearly just built as like Indiana Jones template in iMovie, and then nothing was fucking put underneath it.
No thought was put behind this.
No, and it's just so, the mediocrity of it is what made me hate it weirdly, because like, if it was it was something else, it was Uncharted, like we said about Uncharted, who cares, it's kind of bad, it doesn't really matter. But because it's a franchise that was like, that is so creative,
near and dear,
and near and dear to me, and like, and was just so well made, to give it this new franchise thing where it's just like so fucking generic, and then at times just really bad. I really disliked it. I was not happy.
How was Harrison? Let's break it down.
Okay, I will say, the one scene I enjoyed in this movie is, and it plays into the old man Harrison-ness of it, is the introductory scene of Harrison Ford. Because, okay, there's a minor spoiler. Should we go full spoilers? We always say this. Who gives a shit? Yeah. Full spoilers. Spoilers for Indiana Jones. The opening scene is a de-aged flashback, which we'll talk about. But the opening Indiana Jones modern day scene, where it cuts to him in the modern day, I quite enjoyed that because he's an old man, and he's sitting in his apartment, and some kids are playing some loud music, and he's annoyed, and he goes down with a baseball bat, and he's like, turn your fucking music down. And I was like, I enjoyed that, because that feels like that would be Indiana Jones in his old age. Because he's this like weird psychopathic murderer, basically, in these movies. And when he's an old man, he would bring a baseball bat down and be like, turn your fucking music down. I was like,
get off my lawn.
I'm on board with that. For the rest of it, I'm gonna try not to go into like the he's old thing. He's just, he seems so uninterested, and he's so, it's not even that he's phoning in the performance, but it's like they've based the Indiana Jones character on Harrison Ford in real life, because Harrison Ford in real life, in a lot of his media appearances, seems kind of like a grumpy old man. I don't think he's like that probably in his real life, but when he's doing media and stuff, he comes across as a bit of like a grouch, which is fine. Yeah. It's like, you're 80 years old and you're doing interviews about Star Wars. Like, I get it. But it's like, they've had to make Indiana Jones the same, and it's just so fucking uninteresting to watch. It's like they keep having to apologize for making this an adventure movie. Like, it's like I'm having to sit through, like, much like I do on this podcast, disclaimer after disclaimer of like, well, we know he's old, so he has to have a little, he has to be brought back in, but he's still not really on board, but then he's brought back, like, why wouldn't I just watch a fucking adventure movie like the originals, where it's like, here's an adventure, isn't this fun? Or instead it's like, the first half hour has to be like, well, I don't know, I'm old, I don't know if I can do an adventure, and blah, blah. And then he's just bored and sad and old.
They're really sorry. They're really milking the fact that he is at this ripe old age that he is.
Yes, and it's not. You could do either like a Logan style or whatever Clint Eastwood fucking does, where it's like, I'm an old man, it's a bit grittier and it's a little bit more personal and whatever, and you can actually make like a character thing. Or you can do, you know what I fucking love? If he's an old man and then he gets in a fist fight and he's like, you know what, I fucking missed this is great. And then he just goes and does an adventure and whatever. And we get past that he's that old. But to do it half and half where, spoiler alert, he's divorced and his son died in the Vietnam War, so he's very, very sad. And then also that he's trying to do an adventure, and then it's like, he's just kind of sad.
What a cocktail. Can I get that on paper? You're divorced and your son died in Nam, but you're trying to do an adventure.
You're doing an adventure. Which, by the way, the best thing this movie does is kill Shia LaBeouf's character off screen. That's kind of hilarious.
But I keep forgetting. So Shia LaBeouf was his son.
Yeah. His son went off and he's just so miserable. It's like, I got married, and then my son, I didn't get along with my son, and then he enlisted to annoy me, and then he died, and then my wife divorced me, all this shit. And it's like, of course he's gonna get back with his wife at the end.
Damn.
Everyone knows what's gonna happen. But it's like, again, they don't commit to anything, so they don't, you know what? Fine, if you want to make Indiana Jones a deep, heartfelt drama, fucking weird, but if you can do it right, then okay. But it's like, they just touch on it, and then they're like, and now we're over here doing a fucking...
And then Shia LaBeouf shows up in the end.
Yeah. Well, I genuinely thought they were going to do that because, and I'm all over the place here, but because, and I can't wait to tell you about this because this is a really fucking funny to tell someone who hasn't seen the movie. The supernatural thing about this movie is time travel. They brought time travel into Indiana Jones, and it's so fucking bad. And I want to get out ahead of this because all of these movies have some supernatural thing in them. So people are going to say, when I say the time travel thing is stupid, they're going to be like, all the other movies have whatever, you know, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, this thing melted the Nazis. Way.
Yeah, it is different.
It's different
in both the thing it is itself and how it's executed. Can I just say, okay, I gotta calm myself down a little bit. These standing pods, man.
You're getting heated.
The
sun's getting real low, big guy.
But in the first three movies, the supernatural element of them are always like kind of religious or spiritual or whatever in some way. They're not like science fiction. They're like, it's the Ark of the Covenant. It's, you know, fucking the Holy Grail. You know what I mean? It's like some kind of like mythical, religious kind of thing. Yeah. And that was the problem with the fourth one, is that they do aliens, and I know they were trying to do a different genre, whatever the fuck, but like it doesn't really, it feels weird because it that's not really the kind of movie it's been. It's like an adventure. It's a bit too on the nose, or what? Yeah, well, it's too science fiction. It's too sciencey, basically. It's like, and even that movie though does it better because the other thing that these supernatural things do is throughout the movie, it's always like there's a supernatural thing they're trying to get, and they're trying to get it for some other reason. They're like, whatever, maybe it's supernatural, maybe it's not. And at the end, it's real, it is, and it's like, oh my god. And that lasts about like 30 seconds. And that's like, that's that. In this one, the fucking time travel thing takes like 15 minutes at the end. They travel to ancient Greece, and they talk to Archimedes. It's fucking absurd. And it's just so...
That sounds fucking painful to sit and watch.
And it's so...
Harrison's like... And Archimedes would have been shocked because no one lived to that old age back then.
But like, I thought the way they were going to do it, and I would actually, I'll be honest, the whole like time travel idea, I actually wasn't like not on board with, because I could tell what they were going to do with it, because they were doing every fucking Indiana Jones cliche. So I was like, they're going to have a supernatural element that then turns out to be true at the end, and it's probably going to lead to the villain's death, because that's usually how this goes. Great. And I thought what they were going to do, because they're flying the plane towards like the time portal at the end, and Indiana Jones is like, wait a minute, you forgot to factor in continental drift, so you're actually going to end up not in 1939, you're going to end up in, you know, in ancient Greece or whatever. And I thought what was going to happen is then Indiana Jones is going to jump out of the plane, and you see Mess Mikkelsen crash into ancient Greece and then get like mauled by a tiger or some shit. And like that was it would be like a fun little thing at the end. Like, oh no, the villain miscalculated and now he's dead. But instead we go through this whole Archimedes song and dance sequence where we're fucking in like an ancient battle, and Mess Mikkelsen doesn't even get like an ancient Greek related villain death. The only point of doing this stupid time travel bullshit is to give the villain some ridiculous supernatural death. His plane just crashes. That's it. That's how he dies. There's no point to it.
So he just flies through the portal and then just crashes.
Basically, after a little bit of like, what have I done? I'm in ancient Greece. I can't go to ancient Greece. Mess Mikkelsen also, his plan is, I mean, as a villain, look, we love Mess Mikkelsen. He's a Danish boy. He doesn't get a lot to do. He's just kind of generic villain. He's fine. He's good. But his plan is to go back in time to kill Hitler and then take over as the new Hitler. Because he's like, Hitler did everything wrong. I'm going to be Hitler 2.0, basically. And there was a moment that I thought...
So he's still a Nazi or what?
He is, very much a Nazi. There was a moment that I thought would be very funny where... because they're planning their time travel thing, and he explains to Indiana Jones, he's like, I'm going to go back in time and kill Hitler and run Germany. And he opens a briefcase with like a Nazi costume in it. And it turns out he was just dressing up as, you know, his typical Nazi thing. But I genuinely thought for a second what he meant was he was going to kill Adolf Hitler and then dress up as Adolf Hitler and pretend for the next 6 years to be Adolf Hitler. I thought he was going to like draw on a mustache and everything. That would have been fucking hilarious. That would have been great.
That was such a funny wrinkle to his plan. Just, I'm literally going to become Hitler.
Also, very minor detail that annoyed me, but I just have to put it out there. At the start of the movie, they have the flashback, and Mess Miglinson and Indiana Jones, they fight, or whatever, and then 20 years later they meet. And it just annoyed me that they had Mess Miglinson not recognize Indiana Jones, but Indiana Jones recognize Mess Miglinson, because Indiana Jones has fought fucking a billion Nazis. He doesn't remember this one fucking guy. Mess Miglinson has been set on revenge for 20 years. How would he not know who Indiana Jones is? Like,
yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to follow because I haven't seen it, but so he's basically... He sees... They fight 20 years ago, and then he doesn't recognize... I mean, in fairness, a lot has happened. My boy has ripened. But...
But we can also talk about the opening scene, which is the flashback, where it's de-aged Harrison.
Yes.
The de-aging looks pretty good for some shots. Some not very much. The problem is, they don't change his voice, so he sounds like old man Harrison, and I'm assuming it's Harrison Ford doing the acting, because he... And again, I'm not saying this in a mean way, I'm just saying from a filmmaking standpoint, he moves like modern-day Harrison Ford, and it just doesn't look like Indiana Jones. I mean, it's very clearly just they put a different face on him. That's all I'm saying.
So what gave it away, then? It wasn't really younger Harrison Ford. Well, for one thing, he couldn't move.
No, I mean, it's like... I was reminded a little bit of... I remember back in the day, you made some kind of joke about Michael Caine having a rap album, and I believe you said it would be titled Shuffle Noises with the Occasional Bone Creak. And that is, I hate to say it, that's kind of the vibe of young Indiana Jones in this opening scene. It's just the way he doesn't...
He is featured on said album, is what you're saying.
He moves like, Harrison Ford, and it's... And I'd like to stress with this, like, I'm, again... nothing against old people. You can be old, and that's fine. But why are you in an action? Why are you trying to do this kind of like... Or better yet, why are the people who are in charge of it, like, not saying, you know what? Let's get a younger actor, and then you're pasting his face on him anyway. Let's get someone who looks kind of like Harrison Ford, and then we can just add the face on him. And that would be really funny if that's what they did. And I just imagined that he walked like an old man.
Well, it was like a young, spry, like 30-year-old guy they've got to it. Just roasting the shit out of him. This is clearly Indiana, since he couldn't move more than 5 meters in the scene.
But it's also just a really bad scene from like dialogue perspective, and there's some terrible ADR. There's like it looks like his mouth isn't moving when he's talking, and my God.
I thought you said it was good de-aging.
I mean, there's some occasional shots, like the first shot, I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. But then it just, I don't know. And part of it, I was like a little bit like, okay, it's a classic Indiana adventure. But I was just, everything I was enjoying this movie, which again, a lot of it is kind of just fine. It's whatever. I was having to like, just like look past so much that I was like, this is, like, I wasn't actually, I was like reminded, like, I'm going to a fucking movie to enjoy it. Yes, we do this podcast, but like, I'm going to like I'm paying money to have an entertaining experience. Like,
you're paying money to go have a good time. You're not going to try and constantly block out the shit that's coming in, being like, oh, fuck, they didn't do this, or fuck, he looks so old, or
No, exactly. The other movies I would put on all the time because I want to. I'm dying to watch those movies. This one, at like best, I was just sitting there and kind of like letting it just like happen. I was like, yep, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. It was just generic and boring and dull, and there was no excitement in the story. I also think. You would hate this movie so much, because...
Okay. Is there a child actor?
Well, here's where I'm gonna get more diplomatic, because there is there is a child actor in this movie who plays a significant part, I would say. In the past, you have had some criticisms of child actors, and I've chastised you a little bit. I'm like, we can't say that about child actors, and I stand by that. I think we should not insult children. That's I think a good rule to live by. However,
I sense a however. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go in. I will say, I think everything you've said about a child performance in movies past, I think you would be more critical of this one than any you've had before.
Can I just say, stop using me as a scapegoat and just say that you hated this child?
I'm not gonna say I hated a child. That's not okay to say.
But you think it's fine to say that you hate old people?
I don't hate old people. I don't hate old people. I'm sorry.
I believe you prefaced this review by saying that you hate all old people.
Yeah, that was my disclaimer. Before we get into this might get a little heated. I just want to say I do hate elders. Someone's going to clip that. But I'll also put it like this, again, in being diplomatic. There must be, like...
better actors than this.
There must be hundreds of children who audition to be in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And we've seen child actors that are putting good performances.
Yeah.
All else, the meanest thing I'll say is, how is this the kid that they landed on? That's what I'm going to say. And I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to be
That is one of the least diplomatic ways to put that in the world. Like, you literally just said, thousands of children have probably auditioned, and they chose this one. How?
That's all I'll say. And for that reason, I think you would really not enjoy this. Also, that's another big problem with this. Everyone in this movie fucking sucks. Like, their characters, they're all annoying and sad and angry. There's no... Again, I hate to reference the other movies so much, but, like, in those movies, especially the first and the third, there's so much fun, and, like, you love the characters, and they have such fun dynamics. Indy and Marion, Indy and Short Round, Indy and his dad, you know what I mean? Marcus and Sala. They're all so fun together. Everyone in this movie fucking hates each other, and they're so annoying. Like, the team up is Indy, his goddaughter, and this kid. I didn't care about any of them together, and his goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she starts off, like, the first few scenes, I was like, okay... She's pretty charismatic. There could be she's a bit of a fun character. There could be some fun dynamic here. I'm not gonna lie, and I hate to say this because I think she's a good actress. I think I've seen her in something else that I quite liked. She gets quite annoying towards the end, like because she's
Kaya
just
Scodelario-esque performance.
Not even because I think the thing we said about Kaya Scodelario is she was just kind of it was a bad performance. This is like she's good. She's clearly a good actress, but they've given her like there's a difference between being like snarky and like funny and just being kind of like annoying and rude, and sometimes she has moments that I'm like, oh, that was actually pretty funny and charming, and then sometimes I'm just like, you're just like
you're just being a dick
a little bit. There's a part, and they even address it, so I guess it's not that bad, but there's a part where Indiana Jones's friend gets shot, and like a minute later she's doing like a whole little dance and like, I'm so funny, and then Indiana Jones like, my friend just fucking died, and it's like, yeah, what are you doing? Also, by the way, his friend is, very weirdly, Antonio Banderas, who shows up in this for some reason.
Oh.
Extremely random cameo.
They're a whole generation apart.
Yeah, he's like, I have a good friend, and it's like, Indy, he would have been 2 when you were 60.
Indy, by good friend, do you mean your grandchild? Is just a quick question. Is As I Live and Breathe the Wolverine in this movie?
He is. He gets nothing to do. He's just kind of like a henchman.
Yeah, okay, because I just saw a clip, Indy and this woman being, like, trapped in a room, and then she, like, betrays him and leaves, and then the guy comes in, and, again, I didn't see the whole scene, I don't think, but, like, the action and everything that happened there just seemed very slow-paced and weird, and... It was kind of Indy genuinely looking like he was about to be, like, hit by a truck. He was like, like, literally a confused old man, and then he somehow like he jumped on some like I don't know, he jumped on something, and then he like tomfooled his way out of it, but like
he does tomfool his way out of quite a bit in this movie. No, there is a lot of like kind of weird, I don't know, most of the action is totally like serviceable in that it's not memorable at all, and some of it's a little slow like that. And that's, again, just, like, sort of a shitty thing where it's like, this franchise was built on action scenes. Like, yes, it had great characters and a great story, but if anything, you can get anything right, it's fucking really good action and practical action.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a single practical fucking thing in this movie, or at the very least, nothing looked practical. Like, there's a chase scene on a horse through a subway, which, by the way, there are a couple scenes where it's just like...
What? That's so random.
They clearly just wanted to get to a certain set piece, and then they're like, how are we gonna do that? I don't know, he fucking gets on a horse. So, like, Harrison Ford at the start of the movie, he's like kind of...
How is Harrison gonna get to the harbor? I don't know, he's gonna ride a turtle or some shit, I don't know.
It's faster than him walking. Like,
it's by a long shot as well.
He's in this parade action scene, and then at this point in the story, Harrison Ford is like, you know, old man Harrison, I'm retired, I don't want any adventure. There's no indication that when he's being chased, he would get on a horse and start riding away. And even if he was, I feel like there's a million better options. He would get a motorcycle, he would punch someone out of their car, he would do whatever. Why are you getting on a horse?
He would get on the train if he's running through the metro?
Yeah, that's also a good idea, getting on the train. That's a good train right there. He grabs a horse, drives it through the metro. Harrison unhinged.
His legal name, Harrison Unhinged.
There's also, again, like, it takes all these things that the other movies had that, you know, were organic and interesting. Like, for example, one element is scary bugs and gross animals and whatever the fuck. And it just does it terribly here. Like, in the first movie, you have all the snakes and the spiders and shit. And then in the second movie, there's more bugs. And the third movie, there's rats everywhere. And in this one, it's like they go underwater and there are these CGI eels. And it's dark and CGI, and you never feel any kind of tension or horror or anything. And it's just Harrison fighting off eels that you can't even see. All the shit is CGI as well. Like, all the action's just fucking nothing. There's also, I have to say, I feel like there's a distinct want in every action scene to get Harrison Ford in a vehicle as soon as possible. Because...
Wonder why?
It's like, there's just constantly, it's like, okay, he like punches a guy once and then throws a guy, whatever, and then he gets in a car and he's fucking speeding down the road, and it's like, yeah.
God, I can totally see that though, from a writer's perspective. Like, what if you're like halfway through shooting this movie, and then out of nowhere you just hear like the groaning of wood boards. You're like, what is that? And you realize it's Harrison's knees that are about to give out after 2 kicks.
Again, no elder hate going on here. I mean, at the start, it's like, it's so it's like they have to... I feel like it's so much more trouble doing a movie like this than just... I don't want them to remake Indiana Jones, but just fucking remake it if you're gonna make something, because it's so much trouble to write around. He's old and retired and he doesn't want to do it, and you have to give him a million reasons to do it, and then you have to give him a million ways to do an action scene, and it's like... It's like so much work also for the viewer to do. It's like, I want to do an adventure. I don't know, man. There's a way to do it, and I'm not saying old people can't have adventures, but there's also a little bit of an element of Indiana Jones that is like, he's the typical action hero. Men want to be him, women want to be with him. Also, maybe men want to be with him. Maybe women want to be him.
Yeah.
And part of that, I hate to say it, he's young and can do action, and he's, you know, cool. Like, it's cool. Who's this movie for? No kid wants to watch this shit. Like, what the fuck?
I like how at the beginning of this pod we're like, okay, we're going to start off with a rare, nice little anecdote. No angry rants today. End of the pod. Who the fuck is this movie for? I don't get it.
But it's like, the end of the movie is Marion, his wife, comes back, and they do the thing that they did in the first movie where they have this cute little thing where they first kiss, where he's like, oh, everything hurts, and she's like, oh, does it hurt here? And she points his shoulder, and he's like, no, and she kisses his shoulder, and then blah, 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 and eventually they kiss, and it's beautiful.
Oh, very cute.
And they do that again here. If this was like a sweet, like, up-style movie of, like, this old couple, or even, you know, like, a gritty adventure with an older guy, like a fucking Logan or whatever, that would kind of work, but it just, there's no personality, there's no flavor.
It's a weird in-between that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's soulless and hollow.
We're not in Flavor Town.
No, not at all. I really disliked it. Last thing I think I'll say here, they bring back Sala from the first movie. I don't know if you remember Sala. He's this funny friend. He's great. I love Sala. They bring him back, and
they kill him. Is that the guy who dies?
No. No one dies in this, I don't think, actually.
I thought you said his friend died, and then she did a dance.
Oh yeah, that's Antonio Banderas. Yeah, but he's introduced in this movie. He's never been here before.
Oh, okay.
And then she did a dance. They shoot Indy's childhood friend. She does a jig on his corpse, and then takes a shit on him.
The WAP. She does a jig and takes a shit on him. The ultimate teabag?
As Harrison watches in horror, the triumphant indie music starts playing. Jesus. Also, yeah, that was a thing where, like, every time they played the Indiana Jones theme, it just made me sad, because it just felt like a slight bastardization of it all. Anyway, I was going to say the last thing about Sala, who again is a great lovable character, and again, he's in this, and, you know, he's older, and that's not anyone's fault, and it's fine. But just to, like, how this movie is, it's just weird of, like, who is this made for, and, like, this isn't, I don't know. My point is, there was a part where Sala does a little run, and let me explain. There's a part where Sala, he does, like, a little... It reminded me so much of when I was a kid and I would make movies with my granddad, and I would have him be like the bad guy, and he would like do like a little run, and it was kind of part of the fun and the charm of it was that like, oh, we're trying to do an action movie, but like, look, it's like a little kid and his granddad and whatever, and it reminded me of that, and I was like, it just felt like someone making a movie with all their grandparents, except it was like a $300 million action movie, and it was fucking weird.
I see.
Jesus. I see. Anyway, I think we've talked enough about this. I really did not like Indiana Jones 5. As a movie, it's probably not as bad as I'm making out. It's probably whatever. But I think it's a pretty bad movie. And because I love this franchise so much and it feels kind of just like a bastardization of what I love about it and just like a hollow echo of it, I really, really, really did not like it. Really did not enjoy. With all that said, I do believe it's now
There's a lot said.
There was so much said there. Yeah, I might live to regret some of that. It is now time for
the dumb news.
Well, we have a headline here from yahoo.com, which I don't know if there's something wrong with my browser, but I swear to God, I think it's cut off half the headline here, but it says Tom Cruise's new way to nearly kill himself, and then it just doesn't say anything. Oh shit, wait, okay, now I found it. Speed flying. So, apparently there's a new...
Okay, so it... You say if Cruise is like, overdosing.
It's like, Yahoo, what the hell?
Yahoo, what the fuck?
So, okay, he's doing a new thing. Cruise just deployed stunt video that might be his wildest yet. It takes a true team effort to perform and film one of the most dangerous sports in the world, speed flying, the actor tweeted. Speed flying, what the fuck? I'll watch...
Is speed flying... Is that like with like the squirrel suits when you're like just flying like that?
It appears from this video that I'm skimming through. He's not in the squirrel suit, but he's with like a small parachute and he's just going real fast. So,
interesting.
I guess that's something. I assume that's how... They're kind of spoiling some of this movie that's coming out very soon, because I assume that's how he gets out of that jumping off the cliff thing. I assume he then speed flies away. Anyway, great, Cruise.
Yeah, I guess.
Go off, King.
Good job, Cruise.
Okay, now it's time for the announcements and such. Announcements and such, comments on the last pod. Let's check them out. I'm expecting actually some BHL takes on this pod, because I did have some nice things to say about The Flash. Let's see. Okay. Josie says, I will not stop posting this until the intro has been played. Hashtag cue the intro. Hashtag play the anime intro. Hashtag justice for Freddy. All right. I see. Got some support.
Yeah, I saw it.
All right.
More disappointment is what I saw when I watched the pod the other day.
Well, we will, maybe next time. Maybe next time.
I doubt it.
CJ says, love these random releases love these random release times for the pods. Josie says, I agree. It truly puts the Poorly Planned in the Poorly Planned podcast. And Al Feld says, and they were considering calling themselves Two Peas in a Pod. Can you remember when that was the idea? That's God.
Yeah. Between the two things, it was... Yeah.
I think Yassine loved that idea, which is why we ultimately went against it.
Exactly. It's just to spite him.
Also, the name that we landed on has gotten us out of so much responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what will we have said before? Like otherwise, like you know us, we're just two peas in a pod.
ZJ says if BHL continues to not play the anime intro, Freddy should attack him with a leaf blower. And Josie says needs to be the opening in episode 200. I mean, I guess I can add that to a list of ideas for maybe episode 300. But that is, I guess you're getting a lot of support here.
Well, as I should.
Daniel Maloney says, I honestly really liked The Flash. Thought it was very fun, and everyone was really fun in the film. The main issue I had was the horrendous CGI and everything like that, but everything about the story was still fun and likable, and it may be my favorite DCU movie next to The Suicide Squad. That's definitely my favorite DCU movie. That's a good shout.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Josie says, I thought The Flash was just good. Wasn't terrible, definitely wasn't great. It was just good. Keaton was my favorite part, Supergirl was surprisingly great, and Miller, despite being a huge piece of shit, was good as Flash. CGI was gutter trash, though. Easily the most overhyped superhero movie I've ever seen. Also, in regards to BHL's Letterboxd review of the movie, it's half W, half L, because I enjoyed it and the CGI was trash, but it definitely isn't the funniest superhero movie in years, especially since Guardians 3 and Spider-Verse were way funnier. Solid review, though. It's a different kind of humor. I would put it up with those two, though. Maybe I went a little overboard. Maybe not better, but I would say it's up there with those two, personally.
Okay. Fair. I look forward to seeing it so I can compare.
Yes. There was something else I wanted to mention here. most overhyped. That's probably true, because I did say, like, it's the greatest fucking thing you've ever seen or whatever, and it was like, it's funny, but it was certainly not the greatest thing I've ever seen. Alfeld says, first of all, I'm sure Cheeds has something up his sleeve, so keep looking. Okay, I guess I'll put Cheeds news in the next one, and we'll find something.
Okay.
Second,
we'll dig deep.
Yeah. Second, to clear it up, Aaron Taylor Johnson is Tangerine. I thought the Mandarin bit was hilarious. Third, can you finish one of these Marvel shows for once? Do it for Cheeds. I think he needs the money and attention. Also, I think it's about time we have Woody's Part 5. Woody's Part 5 is not a bad idea. Finishing a Marvel show, maybe Loki I'll watch.
Terrible idea.
I don't know. I watched the first 20 minutes.
When is Loki coming out?
I think October.
Okay.
But we'll see. And yeah, we'll look into some Cheats news if we can put that in the next episode. Shelf Enthusiast says, I finally realized why some of my comments show up as Shrumpy and some show up as Shelf Enthusiast. YouTube's new handle name feature made me choose a handle and Shrumpy was already taken. Anyway, in case it wasn't obvious, Shrumpy and Shelf Enthusiast are the same person, but I'm sure that's only been bothering me. Hashtag I'm gonna need a handle. Also, great episode as always, and I speak on behalf of everyone in the comment section. We're sorry. Hashtag taking accountability. Hashtag we are bussy. Josie says hashtag let's get bussy, and Shelf Enthusiast says hashtag I'm bussman. I'm not really sure what that last part's in reference to, but yeah.
Hashtag I'm bussman. Well, it's probably a Batman reference, would you say?
It possibly could be, actually, you're right. And yeah, this new YouTube handle thing is kind of weird. But yeah, good to know. Cal W says, fun fact, the line, "You want to get nuts" by Michael Keaton was actually improv because Keaton was method acting for his upcoming role as a squirrel. So, I'm glad Cal
little known fact
has brought that to light. Jaden says, Tom Cruise taking grandmas sounds like a Hawaii Ezra Miller-esque Rampage. Also, speaking of the two, who would win in a fight? Prime Hawaii Rampage Ezra Miller or Mission Impossible set shutdown Cruise? Hashtag Mr. Steal Yo Grandma. Hashtag Freddy the Leaf Sucker. Hashtag Keaton gets nuts. And Josie says nothing can beat the Mission Impossible mental breakdown. I'm gonna have to agree.
God. Yeah, I mean, Ezra would literally be fucking eviscerated by that man.
I don't know if there's a human on Earth who could stand up to Tom Cruise during the shutdown.
I don't think any or all humans combined could stand up to it.
Like, Ezra Miller was like on a bit of a rampage there and was doing bad things, but he wasn't like, I mean, I still think Cruise would beat the shit. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, he had Ezra Miller had like dickhead rage.
It was weird to he had dickhead rage. He was weird to follow. It was borderline sad. Never was I ever afraid.
No,
no,
not nearly in the same way that I was of Cruise.
Like, if I was in my hotel room and Ezra Miller broke through, I'd be like, Miller, what are you doing? Stop this. If Tom Cruise broke in and like started yelling at me, I would probably like
I would shit myself. Anson says, the divisive reactions I've been seeing to The Flash are fascinating. People are calling it either one of the best or worst superhero movies of all time, with seemingly very little in between. It's such a stark contrast. I wouldn't know, though. I haven't seen it. I'm going to go see Spider-Verse a fourth time. That's honestly fair.
A good shout.
But yeah, it is interesting to see the diverse reactions. I wouldn't say it's one of the best of all time. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
NMS says, really putting the L in BHL Hudson, a cliche but true. Rare FDKW, though. Craven will be incredible, though. Sony just been on a roll with their movies. Has Sony been on a roll with their movies? Like, Spider-Verse was great. What was before that? Venom 2?
Morbius, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know if we can call it a roll. I'd say they've had one good one.
Well, you know, a roll has to start somewhere.
That's very true. We're not trying to start beef here with NMS, just to be clear. But
well, I appreciate the support, NMS.
And finally, Super Mason says, I was on vacation in LA when the Flash premiere was happening and went. When Ezra got out of the car, people were screaming, and these girls yelled, Ezra, we love you. And I let out a very loud, huh? And Ezra heard it. Can't decide if it was an oops or a massive W. Hashtag my father's a pastor. That sounds like, I think you should go into witness protection, honestly, after an incident.
Watch out. Make sure you're in a room with no chairs.
You are on his radar. Possibly consider getting Tom Cruise mid-shutdown to protect you. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to end.
Mid shutdown.
And I don't have my phone right here right now, but was there anything on the fan page this week? I also have deleted Instagram. Not my account, but just the app for a little bit, so I haven't seen.
I will quickly check. I feel like there was something on the story, but I don't remember if that's true or not. And otherwise, the latest thing is Claude Debussy.
Right, okay. Well, I have deleted the Instagram app for the time being, so I'm sorry I've not seen anything. But anyway, that was this episode of the Poorly Planned Podcast. Hope you enjoyed. One of us went a little hard on a certain film and possibly a certain age demographic, for which, again, I apologize.
Yeah.
I like to say we love old people and you can do whatever you want. Maybe just not star in an Indiana Jones film, or maybe star in a better one.
Maybe just not star in an action... Yeah, or just don't star in an action movie where you're required to move.
You know what? Every time I try to, like, re-disclaim and try to, like, wrap it up, we end up saying something even, like, more offensive. So I'm just gonna... we say something that's, like, way worse.
I don't condone being mean to kids. However... How the fuck did this kid get this role?
I thought that was the nicest way I could say that. I'm sorry, okay? He's a kid, he's trying his best, it doesn't matter, it's just a movie, whatever. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, drop a like, subscribe, hit the bell button, leave a comment down below what you thought of Indiana Jones 5 and the other stuff we talked about. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where you can leave a 5-star rating and nice review. Hit the follow button. You can leave a comment on the Spotify, tell your friends, and if you're there, we're on YouTube, it's all good. You can find me on YouTube, BHL Hudson, Instagram, BHL_Hudson, Letterboxd, Real BHL Hudson, email the pod at bhlhudsonvids@gmail.com. I'm still not used to that new outro.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gap, but we'll accept it. You can find me on, as always, Twitter, at FTK_Adult Sniper. You can find me on Instagram at Fidelgard. You can find me on Letterboxd at FTK_Films, and on YouTube at FTK Space Gaming.
Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Harrison is so old.